What to do when you are owed a lot of money? If the money is owed not by you, but to you, your situation becomes the opposite. You need to achieve the fastest possible payments, as the economic situation is deteriorating rapidly. And after a few months, the debtor may simply have nothing left. You should literally follow him, and not give him a break, calling at least once a day, and preferably several times, thus showing the seriousness of your intentions and your determination to achieve the result. You must explain to your debtor that you yourself are in a hopeless situation and colorfully describe your situation, showing your despair. It is reasonable to explain to the debtor that you did not lend him your money. And if he does not pay, he will face serious, and possibly inadequate and prone to aggression people. From them you, despite all your desire, will not be able to protect him. This topic can be made more long-lasting and, accordingly, more strongly influencing his psyche by telling that the lack of money for life forces you to resell his debt to the specified people. Thereafter, you will lose control of the situation, and the most unpleasant and unpredictable things may begin to happen in relation to the borrower. Since you can tell any stories about these people, this scheme is applicable in the absence of formal debt registration. The meaning of the described construction lies in the expression of a clear and unequivocal threat by you. But not on your behalf, but on behalf of third parties unknown to the debtor and not specified by you. At the same time, you yourself are not a source of threat, and therefore under almost no circumstances can you become an object of counter-aggression. When negotiating with a debtor, it is fundamentally important that you should not utter any direct, and preferably indirect, threats related to violation of the law. Since in the case of recording your conversation, this may be the reason for initiating a criminal case against you. However, there are many legitimate threats emanating from your inalienable rights and even based on applicable law. In particular, the threat to notify his family, his friends and acquaintances, as well as his superiors, colleagues, and subordinates at work, about his financial dishonesty is quite effective. The threat of litigation is extremely effective. Of course, if by that time you were able to properly, indicating passport data and registration address, to issue a debt obligation. The standard strategy for negotiating with a defaulting debtor is to get a receipt from the debtor. The IOU must be drawn up in accordance with all the rules and therefore suitable for presentation in court. Before drawing up this IOU, you do not have any legal rights in relation to the debtor and are helpless before the debtor within the framework of the law. You can embarrass him in front of his entourage. If you have an IOU that is not properly drawn up, then the judicial prospects of the case are ambiguous. Such a lawsuit will drag on even longer than usual, and in a crisis, the loss of time is likely to become a loss of money. Therefore, you should, creating in the debtor the feeling that you need money first, in practice focus on getting the correct IOU, also written by his hand. Such an IOU can be a mutually beneficial compromise. If he says that he cannot pay you within the agreed time frame, and he names a new deadline, then this is a great opportunity to catch him at his word, and, after bargaining about the deadline, make him write the IOU you need. That being said, if the term is, of course, more than 2 weeks, you must obtain protection from the depreciation of the debt by insisting on a reasonable interest charge. When this deadline has passed, you will be able to sue. Although it is better to use this opportunity as a way to put pressure on the debtor, since the quality of work of many courts is quite consistent with the level of their independence. It is useful to accompany the threat to go to court with a clear and convincing explanation that you have done the appropriate work and the court will be on the side of the law, and the bailiffs will undertake the performance of their duties without delay, and even more so ignoring them. Of course, if this is true, or, at least, if the debtor does not have the opportunity to find out that this is not true. The latter is also important, since in the execution of court sentences in insignificant cases, bailiffs in a number of cases, as far as can be judged, are downright well known for their slowness. Disputes between citizens for relatively small amounts of money are considered insignificant court cases. It is important that if you obtain a refund by a court verdict, you must remember to pay tax on all amounts accrued in the form of interest, if any, on the original amount of the debt. Under almost no circumstances should you resort to the help of bandits and informally operating on a private basis, law enforcement officers. Since they don't care who they get money from, and you, most likely, do not have and will not have any effective tools to influence them. Therefore, even having received money from your debtor, they can safely not return it to you. And what's more, under one pretext or another, start extorting money from you. Remember, too, that the debtor is a person and treat him like a human. Do not insult him, as this, especially if he is conscientious and really in a difficult situation, can provoke a nervous breakdown. And also, an uncontrolled outburst of aggression, which in any case will complicate your future relationship. Do not put the debtor in a hopeless position. Do not demand to sell the apartment in which he lives. Do not allow yourself idiotic jokes like, "Then sell your kidney and pay off your debts." After all, having fallen into despair, he, on the one hand, can really do it. On the other hand, it can carry out unpredictable aggression against you or your family, from which, due to its illogicality, in principle, it is impossible to defend itself. Be careful and attentive. See you in the next videos. In the next video, you will learn how to putting the debt collectors in place. Know your rights.